The legalisation and regulation, please don't separate those words. The legalisation and regulation of the entire illegal drugs industry.
Well, that kind of leads me on to what was going to be my last question then, which was to say, I mean, you talked about at the beginning of your career that, you know, cocaine was just starting, and now, I mean, to say it's everywhere is the understatement of the fucking century. I mean, you know, if you don't do it, if you don't know where it is, then you are the absolute minority. And I guess kind of, you know, coupled with that question, I mean, if I think about Leeds, for example, where I'm from, I could, you know, well, anywhere I could go, I could find gear on a Friday night, Saturday night, Tuesday night. But then also, coupled to that, I could quite easily say they're 10 very well-known drug dealers. They're 2 or 3, you know, reasonably well-known armed robbers. You know, these are people who are just, you know, we know as part of the community that everyone knows what the fuck they're up to. I mean, we've been known it for 20 years. I mean, half of my mates will have been interacting or buying from them. Yep. Why can't something be done about it? Why are they still there? If I know it, why doesn't the law deal with it?
Yeah, because law enforcement don't have the resources, I suspect. You know, they're just not enough of them.
But at what point does it become like? I mean, I'm not talking about guys who sell a wrap here and there. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, substantial criminals.
People at the top end of that pyramid. You know, the whole drug pyramid. You know, so at the very bottom you've got the hapless, problematic users, and the pyramid narrows. So at the top you've got the kingpins. There's a solution to this. There's a solution, and I'm not promising that it's going to be easy. And it might not happen in my lifetime, but it will happen in my children's lifetimes. And that is the legalisation and regulation. Please don't separate those words. The legalisation and regulation of the entire illegal drugs industry. That is the only way we are going to be able to rip this industry from the vice-like grip of organised crime. It can be done. The drug law reform movement is gathering pace all the time. MPs are seeing the light, but not in the numbers that we need. It will happen. That's how we reduce the harm, reduce the violence, stop people like Ellie Edwards getting murdered on Christmas Eve, stop people like dear 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell getting murdered in her own home, because we take the industry away from the bad guys.
And I mean, I guess you could give hours and hours of answer to what I'm about to ask, but I mean, for anything that is legal and regulated, they'll I guess by definition there's going to be rules to that legality. Like, I don't know, you know, the gear's got to look like this, and you can only buy X amount, or whatever the rules are.
Yep.
So there'll always be the people who can't get serviced by the legal side of it. That there would therefore always be some illegal side of it. How would you stop that? Or is it just because if it's legalised and it's taxed, therefore the government are going to think, fuck it, we've got plenty of money at stake here, we'll actually do a proper job of fixing it?
The government will make billions and billions and billions, and so will the retailers. Absolutely billions. We'll reduce the prison population. We'll have money to educate kids away from drugs. We can train people in prison to give them proper, you know, reading and writing skills and vocational skills. And the reason I'm holding up 3 fingers in answer to your question is we have to beat the criminals on 3 fronts to make this work. Number 1, price. Simple. That's so easy, because drugs are only the cost they are because everybody involved in the dealing puts a levy on their involvement in it. So the person that ships it from Colombia to Africa, they have to get paid. The person who ships it from Africa to Spain, they have to get paid. The person that gets it from Spain through Europe to the UK, at every stage, somebody lumps on their wages. So first of all, we have to beat them on price. Secondly, we have to beat them on purity, so that the drugs are better, purer. That's easy, because the drugs under my vision will be manufactured in a licensed factory. So of course they'll be purer, and they won't have the toxins in it and the poisons and all the unpleasant cutting agents that unscrupulous drug dealers put in there. And thirdly, which will be a challenge, but it's easily done, availability. In other words, the drugstores, which I unimaginatively name them, will have to be open 24/7, like so many petrol stations are. Price, purity, availability. Beat the criminals on that, they got nowhere to go. Now, I'm not saying that every drug dealer is then going to follow a law-abiding life and they'll all be queuing up at the job centre to get legitimate employment. Of course they won't. And some people will want to carry out criminality elsewhere. Well, many criminals are morphing onto the internet anyway, so I'm sure a proportion will go there, and we might see a rise in other types of crime. But so much crime revolves around illegal drugs. I was talking to a mate of mine the other day who's a senior magistrate, and he says, Peter, every case that comes through on my list that comes through my court is drugs, 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 drugs. Either drugs charges or drug-related in one way, form or another, including, of course, yes, murders by the bucket load.